Sources are telling CNN News 18 that BRS, that is Bharat Rashtra Samithi, which is the TRS's new name, and the Aam Aadmi Party are all set to stage a walkout during the joint address of the President of India, that is Droupadi Murmu. The two parties will not be present during the joint address. Remember, the joint address becomes important because the President, as the head of the Republic, gives a sense of what this government, the Modi government, has on its agenda, what it has done in the last 1 year and what it plans to do going ahead. Let me go straight to Arunima. Arunima, so it is becoming increasingly clear that as far as opposition space is concerned, that index of opposition unity that we keep talking about may again be at an all-time low. It's becoming increasingly clear that within the opposition, all the parties may not be speaking in one voice, because in the opposition, two parties will be staging a walkout. What about the Congress and others? Anshul, Congress, TMC, there are several parties in opposition. 21 of them were invited by Rahul Gandhi for the Bharat Jodo Yatra in Srinagar. Just 6 of them turned up, and not the top leaders of the political parties. The message is loud and clear that yes, the Bharat Jodo Yatra may be about image makeover of the Congress MP, but as far as other political parties are concerned, they still do not have faith in his leadership.
No. So the Bharat Jodo Yatra cannot be seen through these filters of opposition unity. Its purpose and its objectives were completely different. Opposition unity will come together. It has its own particular set of dynamics, and it will come together. Look, when inflation is over 8%, your current account deficit is 4.4%, and the economy is in dire states. Your unorganized sector is actually devastated, and we're still talking about opposition unity at the time on the eve of the budget session.
No, but what is it about then? We have seen how opposition, if you're not able to raise issues that you say that you have presented a rather gloomy picture of how things are, then what really is the purpose? The question then will be asked as to if the opposition is not united, Tushar, in raising these concerns that they say is a very gloomy picture of the entire, economy, then what is the way forward?
Look, they keep talking about the economy being in dire straits. They keep talking about the government not handling inflation properly, not handling demand properly. But the truth of the matter is that in 2022, if this index of opposition unity had to work, it should have worked. You had 9 big state elections in 2022, if I count the churns in Maharashtra and Bihar. BJP came out winning 6 of them. Congress came out winning just 1 of them, and that too in a swing state. So when they say that the economy is in a dire strait, one may agree or may not agree, but at the end of the day...
It is being agreed upon. In fact, the IMF report has also come. All of them seem to be agreeing that as far as the bright spot in the world is concerned, India is the only economy which is the bright spot. One moment, Tushar. In fact, Tom Vadakkan of the BJP spokesperson is also joining me. Mr. Vadakkan, what we are being told that Aam Aadmi Party and BRS will be skipping the joint session of Parliament. This certainly would be bad optics, but also it's also showing that the opposition is upping its ante just on the day 1 of the budget session.
Parliament is where discussions are held, opinions, expressions are all there, and that's the temple of democracy. If parties which have an anarchist history decide to boycott Parliament, I think that is a sad day in democracy. Whatever differences you may have, you have an opportunity to speak in Parliament, to have a discussion on Parliament. By skipping Parliament, you are creating a situation where you are questioning the very foundation of democracy.
And interestingly, Mr. Vadakkan, really appreciate your time. I'm just looking at what Geeta Gopinath is saying, and this is for both of you. She says that India remains the fastest growing large economy in 2023-2024. That is the projection of the IMF. So if anything, that's certainly a good news for all Indians.
Our GDP in the last 3 years has barely been 1% per year. A lot of this growth is because of a low base effect. we went into minus 6.6 on the year of the pandemic. And you must remember that our GDP growth rate had declined precipitously since this government has taken over. In fact, after Notbandi, there was a sharp decline in our GDP to the effect that before the pandemic, you were 3.7% of your was
No,
growth.
but IMF forecasts India's growth at 6.8% in financial year 23. Financial year 24 growth maintained at 6.1%, and 25 will be at 6.8%, and that is the IMF. And although the global scenario is not so bright, India continues to be the bright spot. So I think, Tushar, because these numbers are also about that the purchasing power of India will increase. The poorest of the poor will be rising to the middle class level. So that is good news for each and every one of us. I mean, why should it be seen from the political lens?
Absolutely. Look, the low base effect is for all the countries. But look what happened in China last year. COVID-0 lockdowns. People protesting against Xi Jinping. The manufacturing being hit. Supply chains being hit. Look at what's happening in Europe with the whole energy crisis going on, with inflation going on. So relatively, across the world, India is in a great bright spot. And it's one of the biggest markets of the world.
Okay.
So what does it do? It incentivizes company to come and build here.
Okay.
Manufacturing will get
India,
a boost.
Atmanirbhar Bharat has been those principles. Tom Vadakan, before I let you go, a quick word. We are seeing that battle lines being drawn between the Treasury benches and opposition on day one itself. In fact, around 12:30 is when the BRS and Aam Aadmi Party will be holding a press conference right here where I am. And the sense is very clear that this would be very much about no cooperation and non-cooperation. But the opposition has given enough indication on what is their agenda as far as this session is concerned. Is the government, is the BJP ready to discuss each and every issue, or will you have reservations, particularly to do with the Hindenburg report?
We have stated this obvious issue. We will discuss everything threadbare. We are ready for a discussion. There's no two views on that. The government has made it very clear and categorical that all issues will be discussed. But there is certain protocol in Parliament which has to be maintained, because ultimately Parliament runs on the exchequer's expenses. So you don't have time for all this circuses and optics that they would present. If they're absent, it is at their cost. The voter finally has woken up and would realize that if the opposition parties don't participate and do not do what they're supposed to be doing, the voter will decide, and that's going to be an open issue. So if you don't do your duty, you have to pay a price for it.
Yes, Tom Vadakan, I appreciate your time. In terms of optics, it's an important session, and day one becomes very, very important, because right here on the Kartavya Path, moving from the Raisina Hill, the first woman tribal president will be entering the Parliament of India for the joint address. This will be the first joint address by her, and it is of a great significance as well. Nishank Mane of BRS is Krishank Mane of BRS is also joining me on the phone line. Krishank, why boycott the joint session? Krishank, if you can hear me. Okay, we'll try and connect with Mr. Mane of the BRS. The message certainly is that why are the two political parties boycotting this, the first day of the session, which is the joint address. I'll try and connect with Arunima as well, who is tracking the parliament session very closely along with us. So Arunima will be joining me in just a few minutes. But the message that is coming from the government is that they are ready to discuss each and every issue, although allocation of time has not been given on most of the issues that the opposition would want to take up. Perhaps there will be the Business Advisory Committee which will be meeting to give us a sense of what are the issues which will be taken up in the first week beginning today. A gloomy Tuesday morning where I am with Tushar and Anshul here. Arunima is also going to be joining me. But the big takeaway this morning is that BRS and Aam Aadmi Party have indicated that they will not be sitting with most of the other opposition parties. And will we be seeing any kind of opposition unity? What about inside Parliament? What about outside Parliament? We'll try and get more details.